Squad Show. I'm your host, Derek Schultz, and I'm glad to see the national folks are finally coming around on the Colts.
And I'm Zach Hicks, and after a week of watching this All-22 against the Chargers, I think it was the Colts' best offensive performance of the season, which is saying a lot.
I'm Jake Arthur, and I'm afraid Sunday's movie at Lucas Oil Stadium is going to be rated R.
I'm Alan Pinkett, former Oiler. Can the Colts offense be stopped?
Colts Nation, rise up. It's the Colts Squad. Everything Indianapolis Colts every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Circle City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. It's time to squad up. The Colts Squad Show starts now.
Happy Hump Day and welcome everydayers to the Locked On Colts Squad Show. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I'm Derek Schultz, Indy sports talker, columnist for the Indianapolis Business Journal. I am joined, as always, by the legendary Notre Dame and Oilers running back Alan Pinkett, and you everydayers, of course, know Zach Hicks and Jake Arthur, the dynamic duo from Locked On Colts, your first listen every day. The Colts all alone by themselves at 6-1 as they return home for their second game against the reeling Titans. We'll talk about a few key players returning to the practice field today and also discuss whether or not the Colts are going to be trade deadline buyers as we are rapidly approaching the trade deadline coming up here in a matter of days. The historic offensive pace. I know Jake and Zach already talked about that on yesterday's episode a little bit, but just adding a little bit more context to some of the historical comparisons to just how good this Colts offense and how efficient it has been through the first 7 weeks of the season. We'll play overreactions and underreactions from week 7 as we always do on the Wednesday Squad Show. And then we will shield our eyes while taking another look at the hapless, inept, and injured Tennessee Titans, who are 14-point underdogs coming up on Sunday, and also talk injury report returnees as well. I don't know. Maybe I'll regret doing that, guys, because maybe they'll clip that video if the Titans somehow end up winning this game on Sunday. But before we get to the opponent at hand and everything else that we have to talk about this week, let's talk trade deadline here, because I think that was sort of the big takeaway of Sunday's game was there was a lot of but. And it's great to be in a place where we're saying, but about a 6-1 team that has the best record in the NFL and the best offense in the NFL. But they could use another edge rusher. But man, they're really weak at cornerback. Zach, I think most believe edge is the biggest need here, but obviously cornerback has been one just with the devastating injuries there. Again, the caveat is in the NFL, unlike baseball, or even unlike the NBA, trade deadline is not really a thing. Yes, sometimes moves happen, but like seismic moves and things like that, you don't see that like you see in July in baseball. Could the Colts be players, though, over the next couple of days?
I mean, I think they're going to make calls for sure. I think they're one of the teams that are certainly initiating a lot of calls around the league, calling up the Jets, calling up the Dolphins, calling up these teams who, I mean, look, they're odds-wise, they still have a chance of making the playoffs, but we know they're not going to make the playoffs this year with their 1 win or their 0 wins. So I think the Colts are making calls to those teams and trying to just gauge what the price tag would be. But yeah, in the NFL, on average, you get maybe 3 in-season trades, 4 at best. In recent years, it's actually ticked up a little bit, and that's still not really much, especially compared to like what Derek said with basketball, baseball, hockey is the one I bring up all the time. Hockey, they get up to like 60 trade deadline day deals sometimes. It's really fun. I wish the NFL would do it, but it's just not the reality of the NFL. So a lot of Colts fans are saying like, oh, Ballard, get off your hands and go get a Max Crosby, go get a Trey Hendrickson. I mean, if you look at those two teams, the Raiders, even if they could rebuild twice over and they're not going to want to move on from Max Crosby, he's going to be in his prime for the next 10 years, the way that he's playing. Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals just beat the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Why would they trade their best pass rusher? They beat the Steelers without him. Imagine how much they would have beat him with him, and they're typically not a team that trades much anyway. So all this to say, I just don't think there's going to be like this big fish that just drastically changes the makeup of the team. And that's fine. The Colts are 6-1. We saw a lot of negative comments in the postgame actually on Sunday. I remember about the defense is terrible. The Colts won by 14 points over a playoff team in the AFC. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that we got to sit back and just be complacent here, but like the Colts are in a really good spot, even with some of the deficiencies on defense. So yeah, I think they're going to make some calls about corner. I think they're going to make some calls about edge rusher. And if there is some kind of day 3 pick trade that they can do, I think they'll certainly try to see what works best for their team if they can get one done. But in the NFL, guys, it takes 2 to tango. And sometimes you just can't get another team to play ball. And I honestly, I can't even say sometimes. Most of the time, you can't get another team to play ball, especially with how contracts work in the NFL. Typically, the team selling is eating a lot of that contract. So they're going to give you this guy for like $1 million the rest of the season, which ups the price that you have to trade and gets this into like a 3rd round conversation, a 2nd round conversation. And those are immensely valuable picks that are hard to trade. So yeah, all this to say, I wish the Colts could go, like, if they could just snap their fingers and fix the edge rush room and snap their fingers and get multiple starting corners in here, that would be awesome. It's just not the reality of football, though. Trades don't really happen in season. I'm certain they're going to make some calls, but we'll see if something gets done. If they don't get something done, I'm not going to sit here and say Chris Ballard didn't do it. Like, he didn't do the thing, because it's just not the reality of the NFL.
Yeah, it is hard to pull these off in season, especially when there is more of an urgency. And when you do have some teams that are willing to trade, a lot of these players are in their final year of their contract, but that may not necessarily make that selling team budge off of what their price is. So it's like, am I really going to spend a 2nd round pick on a guy that might only be here for 7-8 weeks? Like, that's kind of tough if you don't know that you're going to be able to extend that player at the end of the year. But just the price in general, I think is probably pretty high, because like Grover, I guess when the Colts, it was reported, by the way, like when the Colts and Bengals, had preliminary chats about Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals wanted Grover Stewart. Colts aren't moving off Grover Stewart. I know that they have been called about Alec Pierce before. They're not moving off of Alec Pierce. Even right now, with him in his final year of his contract, they're not doing that. So sometimes the asking price is just too rich. And yeah, you want to make a deal, but at what cost? Like, you're not going to give up like a franchise player, like one of your biggest success stories, for a player like that. You know what I mean? So
it was also Grover Stewart in like a 2nd round pick as well. It wasn't just Grover. If it was just Grover Stewart, look, I love Grover, but like you kick him to the curb for Trey Hendrickson. Like, and then
right.
I say this as a managerial mind here, not as a managing players, because Grover Stewart's awesome, but like, yeah, you give up a run-stuffing nose tackle for a top-tier pass rusher anytime, but they also wanted a 2nd round pick, plus I think some more as well. It's just hard to make deals, man. It's hard to make them.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that's basically all it comes down to. Like, there might be some mid-round players that they could probably get to more than the big fish. Like, someone I think that might be realistic is like Cam Taylor-Britt from the Bengals. He was benched in favor of younger players there in Cincinnati. They have a new defensive coordinator. Like, it's probably just not going to work out for him in Cincinnati. Well, the Colts, his former defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, they need corners. That one makes sense. And that's not a huge swing, but it's a player who could come in and play good football, or you hope play good football for you. He's started plenty of years in the NFL by now. But yeah, and then as far as pass rushers goes, we talked about maybe the Jets would be willing to come off one of their guys. Baron Browning from the Cardinals. Jalen Phillips is probably shooting for the stars. That's probably your best case scenario, because I really don't think like Trey Hendrickson or Max Crosby is realistic. I just don't know that they'll be moved. But yeah, you're probably looking at more serviceable players right now than actual difference makers. Unfortunately, that's just how it is.
Well, the best thing about the trade deadline, I guess, would be the conversations it sparks up. And, everybody loves to shop. I wish I had a pocket full of money that I could go and just buy what I want, and that's what you feel like at the trade line. But Jake, you alluded to it. At what cost? What are you willing to give up? And with a team that's winning, are you willing to disturb the chemistry that you have? You may not have the best front four, but you've got a front four that is in sync and playing very well together. Do you want to disturb that? Also, the fact that, they have training camp for a reason. It takes a while to get in rhythm with what an offense or defense is doing. Although Lou Anarumo would prove me wrong on this. He's picked like 3 or 4 guys off the street and had them starting in the game. Jermaine Pratt, Xavier Howard. He's just gotten guys off the street, but then they play a few games and you start to see, they need a training camp because they're making some mistakes that, aren't what that defense should be doing. But anyway, the trade deadline, like I say, is from a player's perspective, really isn't that big of a deal. In fact, the biggest trade I think I ever noticed when I was playing, 1986, when I got drafted. I was drafted in the 3rd round. Our first round pick was Jim Everett, quarterback from Purdue. Jim Everett, the only time he wore an Oilers jersey was on draft day.
I'd say Rams.
Yeah, he got traded to the Rams. We ended up getting a great offensive tackle, Kent Hill. But we also ended up losing a fullback in Larry Moriarty. And Jim Everett went on to have a great career, but it was a typical Oiler move, Lad Herzig move, who was the GM at the time, because what's he going to try and disturb Warren Moon at quarterback, who ended up, I don't know, he played like 20 years, went to the Hall of Fame. I don't know if Jim Everett's going to make it to the Hall of Fame, but Jim Everett had a pretty good career. But that was the biggest trade I was involved in. And, I mean, it was pretty seamless as a team because we never even got a chance to, develop a relationship with Jim Everett. The only time we saw him was draft day and maybe minicamp a couple of times. But it's one of those things. I'm a big believer in chemistry on a team. And sometimes, money can't buy chemistry. And now you've got a team with a winning attitude that you don't want to disturb that. So as much as it's fun to shop, you don't want to give anything up.
Yeah. And one more thing I just want to add, though, and just kind of reiterate, I guess, is the biggest thing here is not really like disrupting either when it comes to the locker room. It really is just having these other teams willing to play ball with trading.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest element here, because we're getting comments on the side here about like swing for the fences and give up this, and this for Trey Hendrickson, or why not trade Trey Hendrickson? Again, the other team has to think this way as well. And we know how the Bengals operate. They'd rather let guys walk in free agency and get the comp pick than trade them in season, unless they're getting an insurmountable hole. But even right now, the Bengals, they just paid Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow big contract. They want to return on that investment to get more wins, get to the playoffs, and do that. They're sitting at 3-4, and they just won a big primetime game with Joe Flacco. They're not selling anybody on that team. You could offer them multiple firsts. They're not selling Trey Hendrickson, and that's the issue when it comes to the trade deadline, where it's like, in a perfect world, would you want to get Max Crosby on this team? Yeah, for sure. Like, you know what? The chemistry issues will solve itself. He's Max Crosby. It's the same with Michael Parsons in the offseason. Like, yeah, we'll figure it out in the offseason and during the season and stuff like that. But it just takes two to tango is the biggest part of this. And to what you said, Alan, when it comes to chemistry, this Colts defense, more than anything, yes, they've suffered from injuries, but they've also suffered from not having the same 11 guys on the field for multiple weeks. And there's been so much turnover and change, from linebackers getting benched and cut to outside corners getting hurt, benched and cut to, all these other guys moving in and out, guys being healthy scratches, guys being active one day. The biggest thing is we just need guys on the field healthy and building that chemistry together. So sometimes bringing in like that extra guy on the outside could just lead to more miscommunications, especially at like corner, for instance. I think the Colts are going to make calls. I think they're going to see if there's something out there that makes sense. But if they don't make a move, I'm not really going to kill them for it. And we even have someone here who says player for player trade. The Colts don't really have a player to offer anybody. It's not like they're sitting on like this elite depth. Like, who's giving you a good player for AD Mitchell right now? Who's giving you a good player for Rodney Thomas, a backup safety? Like, you're not really going to get too much here. So, Yeah, I just think they need to keep building on what they have. If there is an opportunity out there, sure, but it's insanely hard in the NFL to make these trades. That's why we see like 2, 3, 4 a year at best.
Keep in mind, though, the Colts are projected to get a 6th and a 7th comp pick, so they should have 2 extra picks next year's draft. But again, those are 6th and 7th round picks.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff the Colts might be willing to part with.
Well, and they already parted with their 6th, remember?
Mekhi, that's exactly right, actually. So they'll get one to replace that. But that's probably the level of move you're looking at, is a Mekhi Blackman type that they can throw a 6th rounder at, throw 2 7th rounders at, or some sort of late round pick swap. That's unfortunately probably the most realistic avenue. But yeah, I mean, I think we all largely think they should try and make a trade. They should at least be trying, because they've been a really, really good team so far. But in order for them to continue getting better or to sustain that high level of play, you got to keep feeding the beast. Like staying status quo right now may not get you much, but at least at corner, you're going to get Ward back eventually, and you hopefully get Jalen Jones back in a week or two. So they're at least getting that, hopefully.
And players, the one thing, guys, I'd be much more liberal picks-wise, because when else are you going to have an opportunity like this? Burrow's done for the year. Lamar's banged up, and the Ravens are a mess. I mean, I understand, like, you don't want to be throwing 1s and 2s around and things like that. But look, if there's a deal out there, and I'm worried about I'm not worried about a 2nd-round pick in 2026 I'm not. I'm worried about. I want to do it right now. But again,
that's the hard part. Yeah, it's just so hard, like, because. Again, like they have to be someone willing to give up a 2nd-round pick for. And like, I mean, Jalen Phillips is a fine player, but he's had so many leg injuries that, like, are you giving him a 2nd-round pick for Jalen Phillips? Like, that's just desperation. That's the 2nd-round pick for Mohamed Sanu the Patriots did back in the day, just for Sanu to get like 10 snaps a game at best. Like, you don't want to just throw away a pick for nothing, Yeah.
Hey, 2nd-round pick for Booger McFarland.
That worked out.
That ended up working out. I mean, I got to go back 20 years. I got to go back 20 years, basically. But yeah, that ended up working out. Tom Brady and Randy Moss, speaking of those old Patriots teams, Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, Aaron Rodgers in his final peak years before he went crazy. What do these things have in common with the 2025 Colts offense? We're going to tell you next when the Squad Show returns. This portion of the Colts Squad Show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. The best part about FanDuel is it lets me customize my betting experience. Whenever I'm feeling like it, I can just open the easy-to-use app, place my wager, anything you want to play, right? Player props. Alternate spreads are a really fun one to do. Maybe you want to juice up that Colts line against the Titans if you're feeling extra confident. And to the old school, straight up money line bets, you can do that too. The FanDuel app has it all. It makes it very easy to find exactly what you're looking for. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And when you place that first $5 bet, if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And we're back on the Locked On Colts Squad Show. Thanks so much for joining us alongside Alan Pinkett, former NFLer, and Zach Hicks and Jake Arthur of Locked On Colts. I'm Derek Schultz. Historic offensive start for the Colts here. Look, we already know you go down just about any list. I think outside of yards, isn't Dallas ahead in yards technically so far this year?
Yeah.
Most of the offensive metrics and all of that favor the Colts. They're at the top of that list. A insane 33 points per game through the first 7 weeks of the year, plus 92 in scoring margin. That's 30 points better than the next team. That's Kansas City at plus 62. So by far the best mark in the NFL. You got to go all the way back to the 04 Colts, the last time that they averaged over 33 points per game. But something really interesting, guys, and I think Zach had pointed this out, 3.62 points per drive, which sounds almost absurd saying out loud, right? 3.62 points per drive. It's the most historic efficiency rate this century of any NFL offense. Better than the 07 Patriots, better than the 2018 Chiefs, better than the 2020 Packers, that Lions team from a couple of years. I mean, you look at the best offense, just rattle them off the top of your head. Just think, if you're an NFL guy, right? You watch these games. best NFL offensive you've seen so far through 7 games. The Colts have been better than all of them, Zach. I mean, it's insane.
It's the best I've seen. I mean, and look, I know a lot of people are going to throw out the competition. They played the Raiders, they played these teams and that, but like they have played some good defenses. The problem is these defenses had been knocked out of the top 10 because they played the Colts offense. The Chargers coming into this past game were the number 8 defense in the NFL in terms of EPA per play. The number 8 defense. You know where they rank right now? 19th. They ranked 19th after 1 game against this Colts team. The Rams, I think they're still flirting around that top 10 mark. The Broncos are right around that top 10, but I think both those teams would be within the top 5 if you take out their game against the Colts, especially that Broncos. The Broncos might be top 3 if you take out that Colts game. It's really the only team that's gotten to them. Even Herbert only put up 17 points against them. So yeah, like this Colts offense is absolutely insane. The top 2 offensive games, individual games this season by an offense, like in terms of EPA per play, were the Colts versus the Chargers this past week and the Colts versus the Titans in week 3. Like the Colts had the top 2 offensive performances this year. And like you said, Derek, 33 points per game. Their red zone offense, which was the biggest weak point in the first 4 weeks of the season, is now like what, 7th or 8th in the NFL in terms of efficiency.
Now.
Yeah, they're just highly efficient in everything they do. They beat you in so many different ways. Shane Steichen looks like the next McVay or Shanahan in terms of scheme lords in the NFL that can just get points with whatever they do. And their offensive line has been fantastic up front as well. Like I think friend of the show, Kenan Kasinko, also said that the Colts rushing offense alone would be the 5th best offense in football this year. Yeah. Just their rushing offense would be the number 5 offense in football in terms of EPA per play and success rate. So yeah, this Colts offense is just on a different level. And as someone like me who just sits there and like watches the film all week long and just sees like what they're doing schematically, what they're doing to opposing defenses, how they're just manipulating defenses, it is something else. I have not seen an offense like this in my life. I've not seen an offense where every single player is clicking as well. And even the guys who are lesser role guys like Mo Alley Cox, Ashton Dulin, Amir Abdullah, when those guys get called on for their 1 or 2 opportunities a game to touch the football, they're performing. You know, Dulin's catching a 30-yard pass down the sideline. Mo Alley Cox is taking a check down for 15, 20 yards. Amir Abdullah averaging 9 yards a carry on his 2 carries a game. Like, these guys are all stepping up when they get their chances. And that just tells me that every single player on offense is completely bought in. Like, all these guys completely bought in what's going on. The offense is just a well-oiled machine. And I mean, you look at the schedule, like they play the Seahawks, they play the 49ers, they play the Texans defense twice, the Kansas City defense with Spagnuolo, who's going to be a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. None of them really scare me right now because this Colts offense is on another level, you know, and I think this is going to be, even if they regress a little bit, I think this is going to be a top 3 offense in football this year. I mean, they've already built up such a lead in this department, but yeah, this Colts offense is on another level this season.
Yeah, I mean, who's performing poorly right now? Like, where's the weak spot? What's the spot you can upgrade at? It's that there really is none. Like, you thought Tanner Bortolini and Matt Gonzalez were going to be those most vulnerable spots, and they've been outstanding. Like, what are you trying to do? Upgrade your tight end 2, tight end 3? Like, who cares?
Mo's been great. I'm not upgrading tight end 2. Mo's been awesome.
Exactly. Like, it just seems weird because I feel like we're being homers, but it's just the reality. There's nothing negative to talk about when it comes to the offense. Like, the quarterback could have more sizzle, I guess, but like, he's playing so wisely, it doesn't matter. Like, he's because of what he's doing, it allows the run game and the passing game to have this whole umbrella of possibilities. Like, he's taking the easy yardage on 1st and 2nd down that sets up 3rd and manageable. It allows them to sustain drives. You know, the run game is helping create play action. You know, Zach, they're doing a ton of the pre-snap motion and everything. Like, everything they're trying is working really, really well. And I've also got to imagine, like, these players are incredibly sharp as well, because Shane's playbook, obviously, it's not dense, it's diverse. Would you agree with that, Zach? It's not like there's a million things in there. It's just they have concepts and different ways to utilize them is about how you
I would describe it as it's a notebook that has pages filled out, but there's still some blank pages in the back for him to draw some extra
There you
ones.
go.
And that throughout the year, they throw some extra ones in there. And there's
Mhm.
sometimes they do install in the year during the season where they're like, you know what? I just saw this Liberty football game. They ran this really cool QB sweep, this pin pull QB sweep that we want to put in here. Let's install this for a couple weeks and get this ready. Oh, I want to get Tyler Warren more fullback snaps. Let's get a whole package ready for that. Like they just are constantly adding because of what they're seeing on film, what they think would be a good install, and what they think can leave opposing defenses vulnerable. It is an endless playbook because Shane Steichen and his staff are just chameleons out there that can change to their environment and adapt to whatever defenses are throwing at them.
Well, the two things I admire the most about this offense is its balance and its diversity. And it's like, what do you try to stop? Normally you try to stop the run. Well, I think even though the Colts have the leading rusher, they throw more on first down than they run. So, and then in terms of balance, it doesn't seem like Tyler Warren gets thrown the ball a lot, but he's the number one receiving tight end in the league. So I think the only thing that can stop the Colts right now are the Colts. If they are off target, but the way the offense is set up, it's hit the open guy. I don't think they're asking Daniel Jones to thread the needle a bunch in this particular offense, although he's done it. There will be 2 or 3 throws a game that you can tell that was thrown by a professional. That wasn't some hack that's in here just and getting lucky. But they're also in a situation where they've got they've had success. Now they've got that confidence. And, you can talk about the level of competition, but level of execution is always going to beat level of competition when everybody's on the same page. And you talked about how, big the playbook may be. The NFL has changed to where now it's a cerebral league. All right. And so the other thing that impresses me is how everybody's on the same page. When you go up to the line of scrimmage, back in my day, 100 years ago, we may check to 1 or 2 different plays, maybe. I think the offense has come up to the line of scrimmage. They don't even know what the play is. They wait to see the defense. Then you got to check to the play. Then you got to remember the snap count. And sometimes if it's a hurry up situation, they'll call 2 plays so you can get back on the ball and run the second play. So it's become a much more cerebral league, which means you not only have to have great athleticism, you got to have some smart guys. And I think that's the biggest change to me in the NFL. And I think that the Colts have both.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that, Alan, where they do have the play call that they have in mind, but I think a lot of what they do is they attach certain beaters onto play designs and a lot of half field reads where it's like on this half of the field, we have our zone beater with Michael Pittman Jr., Tyler Warren. They're going to get to their spots. On this side of the field with Alec Pierce going vertical and Josh Downs, we're going to have our man beaters. Now that's an oversimplification there, but they have just so many guys that can beat you in different ways that they can kind of split it up and they know what kind of defense you're running with their pre-snap motion. And if you want to get too cute with it, if you want to do all these sim pressure stuff and bring up lurkers to the middle of the line, they're going to just do a glance route to Tyler Warren right behind you, or they're going to run right behind Quentin Nelson because you have a standing up linebacker over Quentin Nelson on a 3rd and 5. We'll just run it for a first down on that situation. But yeah, they're just a well-oiled machine at this point, man. They're so good. And to your point too, Alan, where a lot of teams, they come into these games saying the Colts are a great running offense. They want to run the ball. They have Jonathan Taylor. They're efficient. They're effective. Again, they'd be a top 5 offense in football this year with just running the football in terms of their EPA per play. But the thing is, the Colts come out, they show you they're going to run the ball early, but they don't run the ball early in these games. They have a 70-something% pass rate in the first half of games. Taylor gets 8 to 12 carries in the first half. And really his numbers beef up in the second half when they're leading games and when they're just running you into the ground. But in the first half, they'll come out there, Mo Alley Cox on the field, Drew Ogletree on the field. They'll do these play action designs with Pollers getting in front of Jonathan Taylor, all to set up Tyler Warren leaking out the backside, all to set up an Alec Pierce isolation shot on the outside. They want to throw early and often out of these bigger personnel sets. And then in the second half, when you see the big personnel sets, you're saying, okay, cool. They're going to pass here. Let's sit back. Let's get our nickel on the field. And then you get Jonathan Taylor. So as long as these guys stay healthy, Taylor stays healthy, Warren stays healthy, the O-line is staying healthy, Daniel Jones for sure is the big one here. I just don't know how you stop this offense. I try to view everything from the coaching lens, right? That's just how I view everything. And I've tried to view this Colts offense from the defensive coaching lens. I don't know what I would do. You can't blitz them.
It's frustrating.
I'd want to blitz them, but I can't do that because Daniel Jones is like the third best quarterback in football this year when he's under pressure. Like, what do I do to stop this defense? I get frustrated for opposing defensive coaches. And especially if you're like a static defense like this Chargers were, you're just going to get eviscerated on Sundays.
Yeah, what I love about it, guys, is that in the post-Luck era, and even during Luck's tenure, you would say this, you always had to scheme around something, whether it would be a limitation of the quarterback, Gardner Minshew can't do this, or Jacoby Brissett or Anthony Richardson can't do that. Or, in 19 and 20, the receivers stunk. You had no offense, like Dontrell Inman and Zach Pascal was like their number 2 guy. The tight end stunk last year, right? The offensive line, the first half of 22 was a disaster. And now you just look at it and it feels like everything is open to them because they can do everything. Are there receivers better in the league than Michael Pittman? Yeah, of course there are, right? But he's perfect for what they want to do. And he can do anything that you ask. Pierce can do anything you ask. Downs, anything. Taylor, even these guys, Abdullah, these guys that they're bringing in can do exactly what is asked of them. And it's just such a refreshing change from what we've seen over the past 7 or 8 years. But next, following the footsteps of Quentin Nelson and Shaquille Leonard from a few years ago, do the Colts have their next All-Pro rookie? We'll talk underreactions and overreactions next when the Colts Squad Show returns.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Welcome back, Colts Squad Show. Rolling along here on this Wednesday. Really appreciate you joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube or maybe you're listening after the fact via podcast. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, leave a great review, and, of course, tune in to Jake and Zach every single day, your first listen of the day on the Locked On Colts Podcast Network. Let's talk underreactions and overreactions. So this is sort of what we do every single week, kind of a take that you feel good about, and then a take that is maybe in the conversation you're like, all right, everybody just chill a little bit here. Let's start underreaction here, because I think declaring this after 7 games would normally be a little bit of a stretch. But Zach, when you look at Tyler Warren and what he's doing right now, and not just the fact that he leads all tight ends in receiving yards. I mean, I can make a statistical argument as to why Tyler Warren is in the running for an All-Pro, but really all you need is your eyeballs, right? You just watch the dude and you see how important he is to the Colts' bottom line offensively. And to me, that's the most compelling argument for him to be an All-Pro.
Yeah, he's kind of weird. He kind of falls into that, how the 49ers were using Deebo Samuel back in the day, and people were trying to rank him with other receivers, and it feels kind of icky to rank him with other receivers because he was a bowling ball back there. He would be a running back sometimes. He'd be in the slot catching underneath ones and running after the catch. He could go vertical if he had to, but it didn't feel right ranking him with the other top receivers. That's kind of where it is with Tyler Warren, where it's like, if I want to go trait for trait versus like Trey McBride, like the best tight end in football, right? Trey McBride probably separates a little better, probably does this and this a little bit better, and these things here. But Tyler Warren is just an offensive weapon. And that's kind of what you have to appreciate him as. And that's why I think he should be an all-pro this year, because it's not that he is just doing all these tight end things at a super high level. He's doing everything at a high level. He's being a tight end in line, blocking his butt off when he has to, winning on glance routes and just getting back to his quarterback and winning the 50-50 balls when he has to. But he's also playing the fullback position for the Colts, which has been growing in snap rate every single week. They're getting around 10 snaps a game now at that fullback with him. And he's doing some really great stuff there. They're sneaking him, and they're trying to hide him from defenses essentially to get him in the open field. He's creating after the catch. He's becoming a red zone target now. He can be the sniffer tight end. He's going out in the slot. Like, he's more than just a tight end for this Colts offense. He is just a weapon for this team. So I think we need to appreciate him that way. And yeah, to a degree, I think we might be like overreacting that he's like the number one tight end in football, but I think we're underreacting to just how good of a weapon he is in the league, if that makes sense. Like, I do think it does fall into that like Deebo Samuel thing where he's like such a unique piece to this offense that it's hard to rate him with anybody else. But to me, like, that's the kind of guy I want to reward with like an all-pro type thing. Because if you get the stats backing up and he's doing all these unique things, I think that's the level of guy that should be rewarded with something like that. Maybe make him the all-pro at fullback. Like, I mean, honestly, too, like put him at fullback. If I were getting a vote, I would literally vote him as a fullback because nobody has fullbacks nowadays, and he is the Colts starting fullback. But yeah, he's just been fun to watch this year, man. Just doing everything. Again, we're seeing sail routes from the fullback position. We're seeing these delayed routes off of blocks just to get corners and safeties to come off him for half a second, and then he turns that into a 30-yard gain. He's burying people in the blocking department. Like, he has just been so fun to watch this year.
Yeah, he seems like their most deliberately schemed up player so far. Like, and there was 2 plays that really stuck out to me last week. Like, when they wanted to establish something, and it was completely different points in the game, they had those bootlegs to him on the catch and runs for, I think both of them were 29 yards, pretty much the same play. But I was like, you know what? They were looking to establish something with certainty on that, and that's exactly who they went to. And it seems like he just continues to be that guy where if they want something done, if they just want, there's something they're trying to achieve, he is heavily involved in it. He's either a decoy for it or he is the intended target for it. And, you know, the more they get down in the red zone as well, and they could be a little more diverse for them, because, you know, we probably haven't seen his last pass, especially since his first one was incomplete. They want that to be done. He's not going to be done running the ball. Like, they're going to keep doing things with him. And again, that's just as a receiver and passer there that we mentioned, just the tight end stuff. As a blocker, again, he's been outstanding. I saw some Bears fan try to make themselves feel better recently, showing a Colston Loveland pancake block on a run. And they were like, show me how Tyler Warren can do this. And some Colts fans stepped up and was like, yeah, bet. And it was like Tyler Warren, pancake block after pancake block and drive. I was like, okay, yeah, the guy can do everything you want a tight end to do and beyond. It's weird because I feel pretty certain he'll at least get second team All-Pro, but probably not like Rookie of the Year. As odd as that sounds, like I feel like he's way more likely to land All-Pro than Rookie of the Year, but he's going to be deserving of something. He's going to get Pro Bowl, All-Pro. Maybe he winds up getting Rookie of the Year with an even higher success rate and things leading up to it. But yeah, he's the real deal, man. I mean, it's not very often that a guy that hyped up actually meets expectations, especially at that position early on in the draft, and he's been everything they've needed and more so far.
We are underreacting to how great this particular tight end is, because I kind of look at it like this. If Tyler Warren wasn't here, I think the Colts would still have a great shot at winning a lot of the games that they've won, you know, with the receiving core that they have in the rushing of Jonathan Taylor. But you add this guy in, and now this becomes a top flight offense. The overreaction, I could go on, after accolade after accolade after accolade about how great this Tyler Warren guy is, and we are underreacting to it. And he won't get Rookie of the Year, but at this point in the season, to be leading the receivers, and he's just quietly doing it. He's leading all the tight ends in receiving yards. That you look at all the accomplished tight ends, all the butt-kicking tight ends that are in the NFL, and he's leading them all in yards. But to me, he is that one ingredient that makes this offense spectacular. And I just go back to the fact that last year, I don't know how many times I've said it on this show. Last year, the tight end position accounted for 467 receiving yards. He's already passed that, So he is the one thing that you forget about him because you focus on Jonathan Taylor. You forget about him because you got Michael Pittman out there and Alec Pierce making, being the Labrador receiver.
Yeah.
And then you sneak in Tyler Warren and he makes a big play. So we're underreacting to that. I think we should overreact still to the fact that he was the second tight end taken. I can't get over that. I cannot. Some of these NFL teams,
But the upside, Alan. The upside.
They've been around football all their life. They study it all the time. Sometimes they just overthink it. Just let your eyes tell you what the hell is going on. I mean, everybody in the world. Sometimes I almost got in trouble when I was broadcasting because there was a pass interference, or it looked like pass interference. And I said on the radio, Stevie Wonder could see that was pass interference. This is one of those. Stevie Wonder could see that Tyler Warren was the best tight end in the country. So I'm in agreement. We are underreacting. But I think that's the point is, all these guys have bought in on offense to what their role is, and they all know they can eat. And as long as they're winning, everything's fine. You don't have any animosity between the receiver group and the tight end and the running back because they can all eat. And when you all win, then some of these accolades will start to come.
Alan, if it makes you feel any better, the Bears GM thought Drake May was a joke too. So talk about overthinking things. I think he might have that issue.
Yeah. I will. I'll open up the floor in case anybody has an overreaction. I have one more small underreaction to offer as well. I don't think we're appreciating in this town how good DeForest Buckner is because we're just so used to him being awesome. Like late in that game, Latu and some of the other guys are taking oxygen, and rightfully so, right? I mean, they were gassed at edge and all of that, but you see Buckner eating up double teams. I mean, he was getting triple teamed at time in that game. And you talk about eating, Alan. He didn't go home hungry, man. He ate in that fourth quarter there.
Yeah, Derek's taking my whole bit here. Each week I come on here and I say, good Colt that we're underappreciating. And no, this was my third week I was going to do it, Derek. Come on, man. I got to respect. You got to respect the bid a little bit here, Derek.
Well, I'll wait till you pick against the Colts again, and then I'll go ahead and have you do that.
I'm 3-0 picking the Colts this year. 3-0 now. We have a new bit where I pick them to win.
But it's funny because, look, they're playing so well that I'm actually having trouble finding overreactions. Like, normally I would say, okay, are the Colts going to be a better offense than the 07 Patriots? Maybe that's an overreaction, but watching them through the first 7 weeks and seeing Steichen be as good as he's been, I'm kind of thinking to myself, I don't, if they fall off a little bit, I don't think the fall off's going to be dramatic.
Yeah. Sorry, Alan, you can go.
I think there was an overreaction just to the defensive play because, you had Herbert with 420 passing yards. And when you see that number, you think that he's torching the defense. But, there are two stats. I mean, there's a ton of metrics out there. There's two stats that mean the most to me. One is score. The other one is win. All right.
Alan,
Every other stat, I could care less.
That's fair. I will say that in the third quarter, the defense was pretty rough. But I think in the other three quarters, the defense did their job. And again, the Colts don't pull away early in that game. It's not for the 2 interceptions they give early in that one. So I do agree that we're overreacting a little bit to the defense. Third quarter, hold them to field goals, please. Or hold them to 4 and outs, I guess, in that situation, because they weren't kicking field goals. I think that's my biggest thing with the defense is like we got to get some of these touchdowns off the board and hold them to kicks. But yeah, I think if I had any overreactions right now, I think it would just be a little bit of stuff on defense. Like I think we are overreacting a little bit to the defensive line play overall, where like I think the defensive tackle room is fantastic. All 4 of those guys have just been great in their individual roles. Grover Stewart's splash plays, Neville Gallimore has been good, Adetomiwa breaking out, DeForest Buckner being Buckner. And I also think Latu's been solid this season. I just think a lot of the concerns come from like the other pieces in the edge room, which I think are very valid. But lumping in Latu and Buckner and Adetomiwa into like the concerns on the D-line, I think those guys have been pretty solid. I think we also overreact a little bit to Zaire Franklin because he's everyone's favorite enemy around here because of podcasting stuff. Yeah, like
Can I say though that all that stuff he does on purpose and he brings that on himself. Though.
Oh, he does. I'm just from someone who just watches the film. My big thing is Franklin's a fine linebacker.
As
you know,
a player,
like
for sure.
Yeah, like he's a solid like I want to see some more splash plays, but I think his run defense has been pretty good, especially recently. I think he's just been doing some good things. He's a good blitzer this season. I think his pass coverage in some areas has been pretty solid. It just in the modern NFL, linebackers are not going to be great in coverage. Their offenses are literally designed to pick on linebackers. That is all. Modern NFL offenses are designed to keep 2 linebackers on the field at most, or at least 2 on the field at all times with heavier personnel sets, and then throw at them and pick on them. So unless you have Fred Warner, every linebacker is bad in coverage in the league. And yeah, Franklin has his issues, especially when he has to do like man coverage stuff and underneath stuff. But I think he's good in his robot situations. He's good in getting depth. So I think he's a pretty good starting linebacker in the NFL. He just gets hated on a lot because of what you said, Jake. Like he brought a lot of this attention to himself with all the podcasting. And the Giants' look last year was pretty rough for him. I do agree with that for sure still.
All right.
Yeah,
I've got one more underreaction that Derek, this is probably a good one for you. So fans of Indiana-based basketball, we are underreacting to the fact that Indiana-based football can be their salvation, both with IU and the Colts, because they are not used to the Colts being like this, and definitely not IU as of the last couple of years. But the Fever obviously overwhelmed. You know, fans there are still heartbroken over how that season went. And then the Pacers were about to have to endure a whole season without Hallie. So just everyone go shift your focus into IU, sorry, Derek, and the Colts, and it'll all be okay.
I did go there, Jake. So I'm not all the way out on IU.
Sure, but like it's got to be a complicated tapestry for you, brother.
It's very weird. It's a very weird dynamic in my house, especially with my wife, who is very much still an IU fan. And
my wife has degrees from both, if that counts.
Yeah, it's a split household.
I'm happy for IU, but state supremacy belongs to that school up in the northern part of Indiana, Notre Dame.
I'm down with that.
Hey, last line of this segment. I'm just happy for Jake's wife getting those 2 degrees. I mean, that's 2 more than I have right there.
She's the smart one. Yeah,
fantastic work.
I don't have one of those.
Yeah, shout out wives. Thank you, wives, for making our lives possible here, where we get to podcast in a basement on Thursday night at 9 p.m., right? Colts massive favorites on Sunday, and with good reason. We'll look ahead to Tennessee when the Colts Squad Show returns for the final time next. This portion of the Colts Squad Show brought to you by Gametime. NFL season's back. Honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues and login screens and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating, to say the least. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay, which is also nice because you hate clicking checkout on that and you think, hey, I'm paying this amount for tickets, and then it goes up 50, 60%. One of my favorite parts about the Gametime app is the zone deals. All you have to do is pick the section that you want to sit in, and Gametime then picks the seats for the best deal, and you save big. You just kind of kick back and relax, and boom, there's your seats right there. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today. And we're back for a final time here on the Locked On Colts Squad Show. Thanks so much for making us a part of your Wednesday evening. If you're watching the live stream, if not, you're catching us tomorrow, whatever else, that's cool too. We try not to make the topic super time sensitive when it comes to that. So if you're catching up after the fact, thank you for doing that. Colts and Titans coming up on Sunday after a 5-game losing skid in this series, which caused a lot of panic. I know, Jake, you were in that locker room. I remember thinking there were all kinds of questions about, oh, the Titans have seized control and blah, 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 blah. And, that kind of the flash in the pan a little bit with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, et cetera. Things have returned to normal. Colts have won 5 straight since then. They're 33-12 against the Titans overall since 2003. Guys, Titans offense ranks so far, not just offense, just in general. Scoring 32nd, total yards 32nd, rushing 31st, passing 31st, turnovers 32nd. Zach, I know you're the film guy. I don't know if I need to watch the film on the Titans. I think we can say pretty definitively that this has not been a very good football team through the first 7 weeks.
Yeah, I will say Cam Ward is fun. He's very all over the place as a young quarterback. Reminds me of how young quarterbacks used to be when they came in the league, where they would come in here throwing a bunch of picks and fumbling a ton. Didn't Peyton Manning have like 30 interceptions his first year?
28, right?
Yeah, so this is kind of how young quarterbacks used to come in the league. We're not really used to them coming in and kind of slow playing their development a little bit. We'll see how patient the Titans are going to be with him, but I do expect him to eventually click at some point this year because he does have all the goods. He's got the arm talent. He's got a lot of the fun stuff with it, but that's probably where all the positives with the Titans offense end. And then the Titans defense, especially with Jeffrey Simmons likely out this week, do we have a single positive to say with their defense right now? Like it is, Tavondre Sweat's back and he's a good player that they have on the interior, but it's going to take more than just one player to stop this Colts offense. So yeah, I think when we preview this game, it's just Colts don't beat yourself, play aggressive, play confident football like they have been, get out of here with a win and get ready for the Steelers. Like you don't want to overlook anybody in the NFL because even the worst teams are still NFL teams, but there's a reason why. I know the spread has come down a little bit. Derek said it was a 14-point spread. But the start of the week, it was one of the 5 biggest spreads since the 2000s, since like the year 2000 here in the NFL. And for good reason. The Colts are rolling and the Titans are spiraling. So, yeah, I just think the Colts are going to take care of business. I don't really see the avenue for the Titans here unless the Colts, again, just beat themselves over and over again. But they probably even have some room to do that in this game. You want a clean game. You want a clean showing. But, just win this game, get out of it, and get into the Steelers game because every game after this one is against playoff caliber teams. The rest of the year is against playoff or fringe playoff caliber teams. So get this win in the bag against the Titans and move on, and let's get ready for the home stretch.
Yeah, they would have to have some sort of like week 16 or week 17, whatever it was, against the Giants collapse in order for Tennessee to take advantage. Like Tennessee is that bad, and all their best players are injured right now. Jeffrey Simmons, L'Jarius Sneed, Arden Key, Jihad Ward on the defensive side, but all those guys are banged up. Offensively, their line has not been what they hoped. Calvin Ridley has been missing time. He missed practice today. That's their best offensive player outside of Cam Ward. Now, Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears are capable of big things against the Colts, but I don't know that they're going to be able to establish the run, so it hardly matters. It's tough. You guys will see when the crossover with Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans comes out tomorrow morning, but it's gonna take a lot for the Titans to not even be able to win, but to like have positive momentum in this game. It just will take a complete and epic Colts meltdown of which we have not seen even remotely this year. And I don't like to downgrade NFL teams like that, but that's really what it's like right now.
Yeah, and don't hate us for this, Alan, because I know the player mindset can never be what we're talking about here, right? Where it would take a miracle to beat us. Like that's not the mentality that you want in the Colts locker room, obviously.
No, and every metric out there says the Titans are going to get blown out. But I hearken back, a couple weeks ago, every metric said that the Eagles were going to beat the Giants on that Thursday night. And the Giants just, beat them up. You just have to remember, these are professionals. And, in some respect, the Titans are saying, we got you right where we want you now.
We just needed our best defensive tackle, our best defender to be out for this game. We knew we could stop that.
We needed our coach to be fired.
Second to last in every damn category. We got you right where we want you. But, and that's why it's so important that you have a mature football team, because a mature football team understands that phrase, on any given Sunday, anything can happen. But that's when you revert back to that level of execution. As long as it's just like the kicker in his operation. Doesn't matter, what's going on around him. As long as you go through your operation and everything, you should get a good result. As long as they continue that level of execution, doesn't matter who they're playing. Yeah. And so that's where the focus needs to be. They don't have to think about, what the Titans might do, how they might feel. If it's one of those, if we focus on us, doesn't matter what the other person's doing. So that's where I see the Colts having success on Sunday.
And maybe if this were another team, I'd be a little bit more worried of the trap game. Everyone throws a trap game around there, and that's like it was for the Eagles and Giants a couple weeks ago, to your point there, Alan. And a lot of primetime games this year have been big upsets. Look at the Steelers versus the Bengals on this past primetime game. But when it comes to the Colts, again, for all the national media guys that have said they haven't played anybody and all their big wins have been against nobodies, to the Colts' credit, every time they play a team of this caliber, it looks like the Colts versus a team of this caliber. It looks like Notre Dame versus FCS West, to go to college football games, the college football video games, how they call these teams FCS West. But that's what it looks like, it looks like the Colts are the much better football team. And they have handled a lot of these types of opponents this year with a maturity level, with just a confidence level that some other teams overlook, like the Eagles did a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, this Colts team just takes care of business. And for everyone saying trap game, I think it's going to look closer to some of the earlier games we've seen from the Colts this season, where, look, they're going to get their points on the board early and often. The Colts coaching staff's going to vastly outcoach the Chargers-ish staff that's still around at this, or the Chargers, the Titans staff that's still around at this point.
Mike McCoy is the interim head coach. He used to be the head coach of the Chargers. You got it.
Yeah. So Mike McCoy's the head coach, but they lost both Callahans when they fired. So they lost their O-line coach and their head coach on the same day. They couldn't even be competitive in their post-firing game. Every team's competitive in their post-firing game. You have that juice. Jeff Saturday won his one game in his post-firing game. He made us believe in Matt Ryan and Jeff Saturday going forward for a second. This Titans team is just in a rough place right now. They are years away from being years away, I think, in terms of being competitive. They might have the right quarterback, but I don't know if they have anybody else. I like T'Vondre Sweat, but that's about it really on the roster right now. So the Colts just got to come in here and take care of business, limit the penalties, and it helps when they're at home too, right? You can limit those penalties a lot more at home and just feel more comfortable. So if they were to lose this game, I would be pretty concerned the rest of the way. But I think that they're going to be mature and they're going to handle this pretty well.
Final minute here, Jake. I know you were at practice today. A positive one for the most part, right? Especially to see some old names. I mean, I had completely forgot about Tyler Goodson. And, him back in practice, and then Ashley Doohan back at practice, Josh Downs limited, Jalen Jones back at practice as well. Another guy that has kind of fallen off the radar because he'd been dealing with that hamstring issue for so long.
Yeah, no, Jones is definitely a really significant one because, you like some things Mekhi Blackman and Jonathan Edwards have done, and they should be commended for hanging in there, being like the 12th and 13th corners to come in. But you want someone who's been there before, and it just makes you feel better for Jalen Jones to be back there. And then eventually Charvarius Ward gets back, and then you got Ward and Jones, and it just at least makes you feel a little bit better because Jones has been a cornerback one for the 2 years of his career up to now. So that makes you feel better. I don't know if he'll be back this week. This is probably a week they can slow play it and let him come back next week against the Steelers. But Goodson, that's a good one. Doolin, that gives you your two gunners back because Goodson actually returned last Friday. So if he strings together a full week now, I think he'll be fine. Josh Downs, that would be big, even though they obviously absorbed being able to be without him last week. But yeah, you're starting to look a little better health-wise. I mean, you're down your third and fourth defensive ends, which isn't great, but maybe you get to see that Tua Maloau can do a little something. It gives you Tommy a little more work on the outside too. I mean, they need bodies in a bad way. I know Ebicom's probably missing this week. I don't know about Taekwon, but that was literally one group you couldn't really afford to have injuries to, and they had their two biggest backups go down in one game. So
maybe big brain though, this is the group that you could afford to have guys go down because now you get a look at some other players when we've all said the edge room hasn't been effective. Now we get an extended look at JT Tuimoloau. Maybe Darrell and Chami gets a call up for this weekend. So big brain idea here. Maybe you could afford those guys going down just to get, or maybe it'll just show why that those guys weren't playing. Maybe that's what it'll show us. Well, I guess we'll see you this Sunday.
Go trade for Isaiah Land back. Bring him back.
Practice squad.
Do the right thing.
Squad player. You could just sign him, but instead trade him.
Is he on their practice squad, or did they?
Oh, did they? I don't know. They might have called him up. I know he was on a practice squad.
He might even be a free agent now. I don't know.
Thanks for joining us on the Colts Squad Show. Lock us in for our midweek show every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. But don't forget, we are your home for live game recaps following each and every Colts game this season. We had 600-something people in here during the live stream, which was awesome. We'll be back with you Sunday to recap the game shortly after Colts and Titans goes final right here on the Locked On Colts Network. But until then, keep it locked on Jake and Zach every day on Locked On Colts. Be sure to follow at Locked On Colts on socials and check out our other great content on YouTube and TikTok. And we'll see you next time right here on the Squad Show.